Hi, I'm Adrian, and today I've got some rockabilly rhythm guitar for you. This is a really fun style to get into, and it's a sound that I associate with players like Scotty Moore, although many players have done a similar kind of thing. Everyone from Merle Travis and Chet Atkins through to more modern rockabilly players like Brian Setzer, Daryl Hyam, and there are many ways that you can approach playing in this kind of style. I'm just going to show you the way that I do it, which will hopefully give you a starting point, and maybe that will inspire you to dig a bit deeper, and then maybe you can investigate the styles of some of these masters that I've just mentioned. I'm going to keep things reasonably simple for this lesson. I'm going to show you a very simple right hand picking pattern, and then I'm going to take that through a chord progression. Then I'm going to show you some ways that you can develop that basic pattern and make it a bit more intricate and elaborate. So let's get on with it. So I think one of the main features of this particular style is that we've got a separate bass line and treble part going on at the same time, or bass and melody part. So in order to pull that off, we're going to need to use some kind of fingerstyle technique. I'm actually just using a pick and fingers kind of hybrid approach to doing this. You could equally use a thumb pick and fingers approach, or just play it pure fingerstyle. And those players I mentioned just now all take a slightly different approach to this. I think Scotty Moore was a thumb pick player, as was Merle Travis and Chet Atkins. Brian Setzer's got quite an interesting way of doing this. He normally just plays with a regular flat pick, and then when he goes into this kind of style, he just tucks his pick into the crook of his index finger, something like that, and that frees up his thumb and fingers to play in a fingerstyle kind of a way. And Daryl Hyam, I think he plays with pick and fingers kind of hybrid approach, like I do. So any of those things will work. I suggest you experiment with them and just see what feels best and see what works for you. As I say, I'm going to be playing it in a pick and fingers kind of style, but feel free to do it another way if that's more comfortable for you. Now, I want to get started with some real basics. I'm going to show you a very simple picking pattern for this style. And once you've got that down, we can develop that a little bit more and take it through a chord progression. So why don't we hold down a chord? Let's try this A major bar chord at the 5th fret. And I want to start by just establishing that bass line. That really is very central to this style. So just going to play the 6th string and the 4th string, and just going to rock back and forth between those two notes. Playing that steadily on the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really important you get the hang of that and get that steady, because that's what holds all of this together. Going to sound good if you use a little bit of palm muting, I think, as well. You can probably hear that I've got a little bit of a slap back delay or echo effect on my guitar as well, and that's a real important feature of this style too, and by palm muting it sort of accentuates that echo sound a bit more as well. So that's the first step, just getting comfortable with that bass line. Once you've got the hang of that, we can start to add in some notes on the higher strings. So going to add in a note on the B string, and we're going to play that on beat 2. So on beat 1 we're going to be playing our low E bass note, and then on beat 2 we've got the bass note, and we're also going to be playing the note on the B string. So playing both of those together. I'm playing the B string, I think, with the ring finger of my picking hand. You could equally well do that with the middle finger of your picking hand. So that's beat 2. On beat 3 we've got another bass note. Then I want you to add in a note on the G string on the upbeat of 3. That melody note is just played on its own, and then on beat 4 we've got the final bass note. So if we put all of that together, you should have this. You just want to keep that bass note steady, and then we've got the melody note sort of with the pick on beat 2, and then on the upbeat of 3 it's just the melody note on its own, and then the last bass note. So the count for that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2. And if you've never done this kind of thing before, I wouldn't be surprised if you find it quite tricky. But you'll get it with practice, I'm sure. Just take it really slowly. Make sure you start with that steady bass line, then add in the melody notes one at a time, get the coordination together. Then it's a question of just playing it over and over until it becomes automatic and you can play it a bit more quickly. But that's our basic pattern. Now what I'd like to do is just develop that pattern a bit further and turn it into a 2-bar pattern. So rather than it just repeating the same way every 4 beats, I'm going to turn it into an 8-beat or 2-bar pattern, and that will sound like this. So the first bar stays exactly the same. Then in the second bar, the melody notes have just changed slightly. So we're playing the B string on beat 1, playing the G string on the upbeat of 2, and then the B string again on the upbeat of 3. So we've got I'm playing the G with my middle finger and I'm playing the B with the ring finger of my picking hand. And the count is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So get used to that, then you can put the 2 halves of that pattern together to create our 2-bar pattern, which sounds like this. Then maybe you could try it on some different chords as well. It's very easy just to transfer that right hand technique onto some different chords. You can make that A chord into an A7 chord. That will just give you a bit more of a bluesy sound. So I've just lifted up my little finger there, and instead of having A and A as the bass notes, we've got A and G. You can change the notes on the treble strings, maybe add that high G there, or a high F sharp to make an A6 sound. All kinds of options there. You could hold down this shape here, a D7 chord. That would give you that kind of sound. This is just a C form of a D7 chord. The only thing that's changed there is the bass line is now on the A string and the D string. That's the bass line. The fingers part is exactly the same. So you can just play around with that. Just hold down some chord shapes and see what happens. So let's move a little bit more quickly now, and what I want to do is use our basic 2-bar rhythm pattern and take it through the chord progression that I played at the very start of this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write this out in full music and tab. I'll post a link to that underneath this video. Maybe you can follow along with that, and that should make things reasonably clear, and that will save me from having to talk you through very tediously every single note of this piece. Now we're in the key of A. It's a loosely kind of 1-4-5 bluesy thing, but there are a few little harmonic twists in there. We're going to start with an A major chord, but instead of playing the bar chord like that, I'm actually playing the A chord like this with an open A string. That just opens up some more possibilities for this particular style. So I'm kind of holding down an A triad. That's the 7th fret on the D, 6 on the G, 5 on the B, and I'm also playing the open A string. Once you've got that chord down, it's just a question of plugging in our right hand picking pattern, and it will sound like this. Like that. the first two bars. Then we are switching to the D7 chord that I showed you earlier, that sort of C form grip of the D7 chord. Again, plugging in our right hand pattern. The difference here is we've only got one bar on the D7, and then we're going back to the A, so we're kind of splitting that right hand pattern across two chords. That will sound like this. I'm going to continue on the A chord. Just a slight variation I'm throwing in there. I'm just putting down my little finger there on the F sharp to create that A6 sound. I'm doing that on beat 1 of the second bar of the pattern. Then I'm releasing it actually. Then we've got a bar of B and then a bar of E7. So I'm just going to a B, kind of a B bar chord shape. I'm actually playing it with my thumb over the top. You can do it either way, but it's really just that bar chord shape, the same pattern. Again, a bar on the B and a bar on E7. That's the same as the D7, 2 frets higher. So we're splitting the right hand rhythm over those two bars. Back to A. In the second bar, I'm just adding in that 7th there, the 8th fret on the B string. Then I've got this D7 to D sharp diminished move. So this is kind of a 5th string root D7 chord. And then we're just moving up the root of that to D sharp, and you've got a D sharp diminished sound. Again, right hand is just the same thing. Then into the final 4 bars, which is just this. Just a little kind of 1-6-2-5 turnaround, I suppose. So we've got the A chord going down to an F sharp bar chord, B7, it's just an open B7, then to an open E chord at the end. And I think I'm just maybe just throwing in a little hammer on with my index finger. Maybe adding the 7th in there as well. So there we have, that's the kind of the simple version of this piece. Let me just do a slow playthrough of that for you so you can see how it all fits together. If you want, there's a little lead in as well, just on 2, 3, 4. That's just an open low E, then the 2nd fret, and then the 4th fret. So slow play through of that then. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit faster. So if you've managed to nail that basic version of this piece, you might like to give the second version a go as well. Now, in this version, I'm sticking to exactly the same chord progression. I'm just throwing in a few fancier things. And I think the main difference here that you might need to get used to is that the bass line is a bit more complex. So instead of just going between a pair of notes, I'm often adding in an extra note as well. So maybe we'll just get to grips with that pattern to start with. If you just hold down, for instance, an open position A7 chord, instead of just having a bass line going like that, we could do this. So in terms of the right hand picking, I'm just doing 5th string, 4th string, and 6th string, 4th string. Again, all on the beat. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we add in the fingers notes in exactly the same place as our basic pattern. 2-bar pattern. Once again, if you've not done this kind of thing before, it's pretty tricky, so take it slowly, get the coordination together, gradually build up speed. Now what's happening in this piece is I'm again holding down that same A voicing that I was using in the first piece, but I'm throwing in that new bass line. And it's kind of convenient in the key of A that you've got the root note as an open string and then the 5th of the A chord as an open string as well, so you can get that low bass note there. And you can do exactly the same thing on the other chord shapes as well. If you're holding down that D7 shape, what you're going to have to do is move your 3rd finger over to the 6th string to get that low 5th bass note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the sort of more complex bass line. Now let me take you through the piece and explain a few of the variations that I'm throwing in as well. I say the chord progression is exactly the same, I'm just approaching it in a slightly different way. I'm going to start with the A chord, 2 bars of A, and it goes like this. So just our basic pattern. I've got one little pull off in there. Pulling off the F sharp there at the 7th fret on the B string. So going to D7, so there I've got that new bass line in there. I'm also just playing that open high E string as well, it's quite nice to have that open string in there, gives you the kind of D9 sound. Back to A. I'm throwing in that G note there, the 7th. You might try and give that a little bit of a bend sharp as well for a sort of bluesy sound. Then we're to B. And then E7. I think I'm doing something like that. So instead of playing the E7 as I was before, I'm actually doing the old Hendrix chord. And I'm pulling off with my little finger again to an open string. Quite a Chet Atkins kind of a thing to do, just to get those open strings in there and to create some interesting colours. I'm just playing the open high E as well. Back to the A. I'm adding the 7th and then lifting that off again. D7. Again, I'm playing a D7 with an extra open string in there, that open B. So I'm just getting that kind of a sound. I'm getting a kind of a D6, D13 sound. Then the D sharp diminished, something like that, pulling off there with my little finger to the open string. Then the little turnaround, we just got A. I think I'm playing an F7 there. Play that as a bar chord, or with your thumb over the top if you prefer. B7, this time moving the bass note. Then we're back to the top again. As I say, all of this is written out in Music in Tab, and you can sort of get all of the details of that on my website. Let's just have a slow play through all of that then, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and as I said at the start, I hope this gives you a good way into this particular style of playing, and I hope it inspires you to maybe go a bit deeper and investigate the styles of some of those rockabilly masters. If you haven't already seen it, I've done a video on Mystery Train, which is the classic Elvis track with Scotty Moore on guitar, and that really is a great example of this style of playing, so you might want to check that out. But that's it for now. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.